What's going on, everybody? Justin here, back with another video. Super excited to be bringing you guys my first NBA 2024 mock draft of the year. Been hearing a lot of different stuff about this draft. I have my opinions about it. I'm sure you do too. But all in all, I think we need to cut the crap when people are talking about how this is a weak draft class. I don't understand it. I get that it might not be so much top end talent, but to the point where you're calling this mock draft, I'm sorry, this draft class just super weak and not worth our time is just false. There's good players in every single draft in every sport. You can even look at some of the worst NBA drafts and pull out 2, 3, 4 guys from each of those classes that, blossomed into all stars, solid starters on, contending teams, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, I look at this class and I see a lot of guys who, like we're seeing in this year's playoffs, that can come onto a team, especially like the Grizzlies, a team like the Spurs that's looking to make, a playoff push next year and years, beyond that. And I see guys that can really just come in and help out with that. I mean, we're seeing it with the Mavericks, with Derek Lively. We've seen it with teams like OKC, so on and so forth. So, I just kind of wanted to get that out the way. Hearing a lot of chit chat, a lot of chatter about this draft, kind of wanted to just address that. But I mean, let's just get right into it. So with the first pick here, obviously the Hawks won the lottery. If you know me, I'm a Pistons fan. The Pistons players and the fans got absolutely screwed once again. The front office didn't get screwed, because it's a clown show over here. Let's be honest. So I don't feel bad for the front office at all, but I do feel bad for the players and I feel bad for us fans as well. But I've always said it's not where you're picking, it's who you're picking. So you got to make the most out of it. But first pick here, Atlanta Hawks. I'm going to kind of just keep this 1.0 mock draft kind of, not basic, but this is kind of, when the lottery was first announced, we seen the Hawks won the lottery. You kind of have sort of a consensus, especially with the first couple of mock drafts that you see, from the first couple of weeks from the lottery results. And I'm going to have them go with Alex Sarr here out of France. I do feel like he can come in and be a good fit. Obviously, you got to see what you're doing with Trae Young. You got to see what you're doing with DeJounte Murray, excuse me. They didn't seem like quite a great fit. But I mean, who knows if you bring a guy in like Sarr who can kind of come in, help the defense right away. He's going to come in and be, an elite rim protector, I'd say, off rip. It's kind of on the Hawks to develop his offensive game to being, I don't want to say number one pick worthy, but I just want to say, being to where he can develop into an all-star and an all-NBA player, which I can definitely say. I mean, this guy's got some very nice potential. I kind of see like an Evan Mobley type of player in him. Obviously he's going to get the Wemby comparisons, but come on, you really can't compare, too many prospects coming into the league to Wemby. So let's go with Alex Sarr here, number 1 to the Atlanta Hawks. And at 2, things kind of get interesting. Because obviously, at 1, Atlanta could do a couple different things. They can go Ricochet, they can go Klingon, they can go Dillingham, Topic. Depends on what they do. If they trade Trae Young during the draft, if they trade DeJounte Murray, etc. But at 2, like I said, it gets interesting. I see the Wizards kind of, what I see from the Wizards is they have a nice, solid little young core, and that's not downplaying it at all. I mean, I think Avdija is one of the most underrated young players in the league today. And Kyle Kuzma, if you trade him and move on from him, I think he can really get you back something, pretty solid, especially from a contending team. You got guys like Marvin Bagley that kind of came on, towards the end of the year. He was on my Pistons, didn't do much. Corey Kispert's a guy that could draw some attraction, especially too if you're looking to move on from him. Obviously, they took Bilal Coulibaly last year in the draft, so they added another nice wing there. And what I'm going to have the Wizards do here is actually go Rob Dillingham. I think that they need that floor general type of guy. They have Tyus Jones, but it's kind of time to, in my opinion, hand over the reins to someone else, whether that's Rob, whether that's Reed. It's something that they should look to do, in my opinion. Like I said, I like what they're kind of building here. I know they were obviously one of the worst teams in the NBA, but when you look at it from an outsider's point of view, they got talent and they got guys that you can really, kind of look at, like I said, from afar and kind of see, yeah, I could see that gelling together. I think Rob's a really nice player too. Obviously, he has his moments like every other player in this draft. The defensive capability is really not there. He's very, very small. I think that they said he measured in without shoes, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they said 6 foot, like 155 or something like that, 6'1" or something like that. So it's going to be tough, but the offensive talent is there. And I do like Rob quite a bit, just coming in, being this floor general for a team, that has Avdija, that has Koulibaly. They got some nice young pieces. So let's go with Rob here, number 2. Net number 3, I mean, the Rockets, again, are just poised to make a very, I to keep it short and sweet, a good move for their organization. I mean, they already looked quite a bit better. Last year they got guys like Jalen Green, Jabari Smith, Dylan Brooks, Amen Thompson. They got guys that are, very young, but also just very solid for where they're at right now. Obviously, Cam Whitmore last year, Tari Eason, they got guys that you can really see coming together, coming along, and becoming, a solid playoff team, no doubt, I'd say. So at 3, they kind of just, in my opinion, they should take an NBA ready guy. They kind of, could use a point guard, I guess. Van Fleet's kind of getting up there a little bit. They played Ahmed Thompson there more at the 3, I'd say. And then obviously, you got Jalen Green at the 2, Jabari Smith's improving year in, year out. So I'm going to have the Rockets go with Reed Shepherd. I think Reed is a guy that can do pretty much everything on the floor. I mean, he can shoot, he can pass the ball, he can play defense. And it's a guy that, like I said, when I look at this draft from an outside point of view, it's a guy that I can see in 3-4 years being a key contributor on a playoff team. And that's what the NBA really needs right now, because you see these teams, you see the Timberwolves, you see the Mavericks with PJ Washington, with guys like that, with Derek Lively, and so on and so forth. So you see guys and you see teams that are really banking on these role players. The Timberwolves, Naz Reid, Jaden McDaniels. You have teams every single year that have their 2-star players, but then they also have 3-4 guys that you look, when you're not a fan of that team. I'm a Pistons fan. I look at the Wolves and I say, wow, I wish that the Pistons could have Naz Reid. I wish that the Pistons had Jaden McDaniels or a player of that sort. I wish the Pistons had a Daniel Gafford. I wish they had a Derek Lively, guys that just come in and make the team better, every single game. And that's what I really feel like Reed can do, especially for this Rockets team that's just on an upward projection every single year. At 4 here, the San Antonio Spurs, again, a team that I could really see taking a point guard. I think they need a guy next to Wemby. And, I'm really interested to see kind of how they handle this next season and the upcoming seasons, just building around Wemby. Do they get rid of a Keldon Johnson? Do they trade Devin Vassell, et cetera? But what I really do think that they will try and do in this draft, whether it's Topic, whether it's Castle, is that I think that they will target a point guard either at 4 or at 8. It's really up to them. But I'm going to actually have them go with Nikola Topic here, out of Serbia. I looked at this guy's, a couple of his games, and then I looked at his highlights just as a whole. I think they had a 15-minute highlight reel of him. And there was a comment on the YouTube video that I haven't stopped thinking about ever since I hear Nikola Topic's name, and it said he plays like a 1960s guard. And when you watch him play, he really does. He's got that like weird type of speed, quickness to him, but he's not athletic, and he kind of just puts the ball in the right spot every single time. He can pass the ball, he can score the ball, he can finish at the rim and whatnot. And it's a guy that I can really just see working out next to Wemby and working out, in this pop system here, just playing fundamentally, and just, fitting right in. So I'm going to go with Topic here at number 4 for the Spurs. At 5, the Pistons here. It's very interesting what they can do. I mean, they can go all sorts of type of routes. Matas Buzelis is a guy that I see. constantly mocked to the Pistons. I could see it, but I just don't know if they take another guy that can't shoot. We've got Cade. He's a decent shooter. We got Ivy. Couldn't really shoot the ball last year. Azor Thompson can't really shoot the ball. Jalen Duren can't shoot the ball as of right now. So I don't know. I don't know if they go with Matas. I see Risser Shea here. I really like Risser Shea. I think he can go number one, you know, if the cards fall right, if that's what the Hawks want to do. There's guys like Ron Holland here with supreme upside, and it's kind of the Pistons are in a weird spot. Do they make a huge upside swing, or do they kind of go with something a little bit safer like a Dalton Connect or something, and just kind of build this team up to where you string together a couple more wins. Cade starts to feel better, Ivy starts to feel better, because I don't know if there's a player in this certain draft that next year is going to propel this team to heights that we haven't seen yet within these past couple of years since they drafted Cade. So that's why I'm going to go with Risser Shea here. I just feel like he's the best player available. The fit is there. You can either have him, you can have him come off the bench for a couple games as he starts out. See how him and Azor gel. I like Risser Shea. He can shoot the ball for a 6'10" guy. His handles they're nothing to write home about, but for a 6'10" forward, I mean, he can get the job done. So I think that's what this team really needs to is just, a very decent shooter, I guess you can say, a guy that's got, a pretty high ceiling, but he's also got, a pretty high floor. And, when you mix them things together, especially with a team like the Pistons that doesn't have the greatest direction right now, we don't know what this team's going to do within the next couple of years. Are they going to get rid of the head coach? Are they going to get rid of Ivy? Are they going to get rid of Duren, etc.? So you got to just bring a guy in with a high enough ceiling and a low enough floor, and that's why I'm going with Risser Shea here for the Detroit Pistons. At number 6 here, the Hornets are in an interesting spot. I don't think that they're as bad as their record showed them to be. Obviously, LaMelo LaMelo missed a lot of time. And you got guys that, last year, Brandon Miller looked awesome as a rookie. He looked like he should have been the number 2 pick. He was absolutely scoring machine. And it's a guy that I'm really excited about for the Hornets' future, especially. You got guys like Mark Williams. That's why you kind of have to ask yourself here, if you're the Hornets, do we take Donovan Clingan? Because I really like Clingan. I think he's a great defensive center. He's got to work on the offensive game a little bit, and we got to see him shoot the threes a little bit more. But I think he's a really exciting prospect in this draft. It's tough here. The Hornets, do you go a guy like Dalton Connect? Do you go a guy like Stephon Castle? Do you go take an upside swing in Matas Buzelis? It's really tough to say. But I'm going to go with a guy that's getting a little bit more and more love here, and that's Ron Holland here out of the G League. I do feel like he has top 3 player upside in this draft, but the only thing is the shooting. He didn't show it too much in the G League, and that's kind of where a lot of these guys in the G League struggle with, is stuff that they were very good with in high school, and then they have that one trait that kind of just falls off. We've seen it with Kuminga. We've seen it with Buzelis. These guys were in the G League. They couldn't really shoot too well. But if you can come in the league, get adjusted, have the right fit, I feel like it can work out here. So that's why I'm going to go with Ron Holland here for the Charlotte Hornets. At number 7, the Portland Trailblazers are up. This is where I have the fall of Donovan Clingan stopping. I think Portland, you have a guy like DeAndre Ayton, obviously former number 1 overall pick, but to me, if I'm a part of that front office and I'm a fan, I'm not riding home about DeAndre Ayton. I get it; he's a decent NBA player, but when you think DeAndre Ayton, do you really think, top center in the league? Do you really think, oh, maybe we shouldn't take this player because they play the same position? When I think of DeAndre Ayton, I don't really think that. I think at this point, Clingan is the best player on the board. He knows how to win. I mean, he's done it for years in college. And, he's a guy that's going to come in and just be a really solid player off the rip. I really do think that, especially on the defensive end, excuse me. So what you can do is you can ease Clingan in. Next year, maybe you try and find a trade partner for Ayton, And next year, maybe you just let him go and you let Klingon take the reins here. So with the Trailblazers having 2 picks in this lottery, I don't think that, taking a swing on a guy that plays the same position as one of your better players is the worst thing to do here. Obviously, they're log jammed at shooting guard and small forward. They got Scoot. They've got, why am I drawing a blank on his name? They got Shaden Sharp. And, they got guys there. I just don't know if they take yet again another small forward here. So I'm going to go with Donovan Klingon for the Portland Trailblazers. At number 8, the Spurs. They took Topic at 4, and now I feel like they're just kind of, swinging for the fences for an upside pick. I would say Connect, but I just don't know if he's really on their radar like that. Obviously, they could go Stephon Castle too. They could take 2 guards. That would be very, very interesting. They could go with 2 guards and just, roll the dice and see how it works out. But the fall of Matas Buzelis kind of propels me to take him here at number 8. It's something that I haven't seen in, I don't think, any mock drafts. I mean, maybe one or two, but I mean, I just haven't seen Matas fall this far, especially because every single mock draft that I see, and this is like legit, he goes to the Pistons in every single mock draft. It's something where I'm not exactly sure what it is. It's his dad or it's his uncle that has ties to the owner or something, or his mom or something. I'm not even sure, but every single mock draft has Matas going to the Pistons, and I'm kind of sick of it. So that's why I'm doing something a little bit different this time around. So I got Matas going to the Spurs. I think he can fit right in, especially if, like I said, they get rid of a guy like a Devin Vassell or something. You never know what they're really going to do in this new Wemby era. I mean, it really is a new era. They're building around, a 7-foot freak that is going to be one of the better players in the NBA next year, definitely on the defensive end as well. And Matas is more than a capable defender. His handle's awesome for his size. He just can't shoot yet, and that's something that I'm scared of as a Pistons fan. But if he could put it all together, I mean, he can be a great player in this league. So let's go Matas here at number 8 for the Spurs. At number 9, the Memphis Grizzlies here. Obviously, the Ja Morant suspension really hurt them. They've got solid guys on their team. Zaire Williams, G.G. Jackson last year was a bucket getter. I don't know why G.G. Jackson fell that far in the draft. I feel like me and my buddies all knew that G.G. Jackson was going to come in and be a bucket. He was at South Carolina, and he is in the NBA. Like, it kind of blows my mind sometimes why guys fall that far in the draft, and it's going to happen. It's going to happen with a couple guys this year too. That's why I'm not calling this draft, a weak draft, just because we haven't seen it all play out yet. But back to the Grizzlies, they got Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson. They got all the pieces there. They made a deep playoff run last year, and I really just think they got to bring a guy in that's already solidified, that they know is going to be a great NBA player right as he steps on the floor. And a guy that they don't have to wait 2, 3, 4 years to develop. And that's why I'm going with Dalton Connect here out of Tennessee. Guy can shoot the ball. He's ready for the big moments. He's ready for the NBA playoffs. And, like I said earlier, and I'll say it time and time again, I will not be surprised if 2 to 3 years down the line, we see Dalton Connect on a playoff team, whether it's the Grizzlies or whether it's a different team, and he's one of the key contributors, one of the key role players on the team. That's why, you find guys like this in the draft, and you really, you just build around them, and that's how you play winning basketball. So Dalton Connect here with the Grizzlies. I really like this fit. A guy that they can bring off the bench, that they can start in spots, like I said, ready for the big moments, ready for the NBA playoffs. Let's go with that one there at number 9. At number 10 here, things are interesting for Utah. They got a couple nice pieces here. I do like John Collins, and I really like Lauri Markkanen. I think they're going to hold on to Lauri. And they got, a couple weaknesses here, though, at the center position. They could use another center. Walker Kessler kind of fell off a little bit last year since his rookie season. But what I think that the Jazz need to do here is target the point guard position. I like Sexton. And he's kind of that combo guard type, point guard, shooting guard. But I think that you do need another guard next to Sexton. That's why I'm going to go with Stephon Castle, one of my favorite players in this draft. Um, a guy that was winning in college. He knows how to play winning basketball. He played more like a wing position in college, but he does say that he wants to play point guard, which I feel like he can do either or. He's just such a skilled defender, and a guy that is going to come in and emulate that winning basketball right away. Solid playmaker, can rebound the ball for his size, and can put the ball in the basket. But what really makes him one of the better prospects in this draft, in my opinion, is his defensive ability. And I think that's going to mirror in the league, and that's going to show, right away. So we're going to go with Stephon Castle here for the Utah Jazz, and they add to that, solid young core that they've been kind of building up here for, 1 or 2 years. At 11, the Chicago Bulls are another team that's in just a super awkward stage in this point in their team. DeMar DeRozan's a free agent. Patrick Williams is a free agent. And what do they do with Zach LaVine? Do they trade Zach LaVine? Do they blow it up? Do they go all in? Lonzo's supposed to be playing next year. He just got some type of transplant. I seen the clip on Twitter. I can't remember right now, but he got some type of transplant for an injury because he's been out for like 2 years. What do they do with Vucevic? Kobe White last year played really good. Same with Ayo Dosunmu. These guys played good. They got nice pieces on their team. Alex Caruso is a guy that every team that's in the playoffs that's contender for a championship wants on their team. So what do they do? Do they go with a forward? Do they go? I don't really see him going for a point guard. I've seen Isaiah Collier, mocked here quite a bit, and I just don't understand it. I think that they kind of just got to go with best player available. Like, they're in a weird position here. DeMar DeRozan could very well be on his way out. Same thing with Zach LaVine. They could be trading Zach LaVine. I feel like we hear those trade rumors every single year. So let's go with Cody Williams for them. Cody Williams is a guy that, is going to come and be able to score the ball. I do think he's going to need a couple years of development. I don't think he's going to quite be, just like his brother, where he's going to come in and start off just like that, be able to score the ball. And, he's a solid player. Don't get me wrong. I don't want him for my Pistons, but I could see Cody Williams, developing, like I said, 2-3 years into a solid role player, and into a guy that, can come off the bench, can start in spurts and, put up 15, 17 points a game, on a good team. So let's go with Cody Williams here for the Chicago Bulls. At 12, the Oklahoma City Thunder here. What I seen in the playoffs, and I know a lot of people seen it too, is they need a backup big. They need someone behind Chet, next to Chet, however it is. Jalen Williams, the other Jalen Williams, just isn't cutting it. And he can be that third big on a team, on a good team, but he can't be the second best big on a team. And it's just the truth. I think Gordon Hayward's obviously out of there. We have to see, with Giddey. I mean, Giddey could get traded as well. I can see them, taking like a shooting guard, small forward, but I really do think that the backup big man spot is just more evident. It's more of a need, and the Thunder are very lucky to be in this position, especially after, the great playoff run and the great season that they just went on. They fell a couple games short to the Mavericks, but I really like what they're building. Shai is obviously one of the best players in the NBA. Chet's on his way too. He played great last year. Guys like Jalen Williams, guys like Lou Dort, those guys are all very nice, NBA players on great teams. So the backup big man spot, I am going to go with Kyle Filipowski. I like him, kind of just for what he is. I think he's another one of those guys that's going to kind of come in and be, a pretty solid NBA player right away. Is he going to wow you? Is he going to, are you going to take him in the top 5? Or are you going to take him in the top 3? Absolutely not. But he's the guy that is going to go a little bit later in the draft, and he's going to come in and be, a solid NBA player. He's going to do what he's asked to do. especially when these guys get drafted to better teams. They're able to be more comfortable. They don't have to do as much. They can kind of just play their game and play their role, as they're intended to on the team. So I think Filipowski here would be a great pick for the Oklahoma City Thunder. At 13, the Sacramento Kings. They're in an interesting position as well. I don't feel like they have. Let me get this. I don't feel like they have a horrible team. I mean, they have really nice pieces. Domantas Sabonis was one of the best players in the NBA last year. De'Aaron Fox is a great point guard. Malik Monk, I'm thinking that they bring him back, but they just might not. He's going to get a bag this year from any team that he, decides to go to, whether he comes back to the Kings or whether he goes elsewhere. Keegan Murray is another guy who's a very solid NBA player, a guy that can shoot the ball and pretty much just do, whatever you ask him to do. So it's tricky here. We're kind of getting down to the nitty gritty in terms of the lottery. Like, do they go with a guy like Jared McCain? Or, do they go with a Jacoby Walker? I could see Isaiah Collier going here too. But he's kind of got, almost a similar play style to De'Aaron Fox. So it is tough. It's kind of, the Kings are in a weird position as well. They kind of need to just go best player available and, get some talent on this team. And that's why I'm going to actually have them go with Jacoby Walker here out of Baylor. 6'5" shooting guard, defensive capability. Can do, pretty much everything on the court. It's a guy that's going to come in, help this Kings team, make a play and run next year and, just help them get better and better every single year. And that's what they need to do. They're kind of one of these teams that's, they're not horrible, but they're not great. And last year, they were a lot better than they were this year. So it's kind of, it's tricky here, but let's go with Jacoby Walker here out of Baylor. At 14, the Blazers are back. I had them take Donovan Clingan there at number 7. To kind of take over the reins after DeAndre Ayton is, kind of on his way. So it's tricky, what they do here. Do they go with a guy like Keyshawn George, out of Miami? Do they go with a guy like a Jared McCain? Obviously, they got Anthony Simons, like I mentioned earlier. They kind of got a logjam at the shooting guard position. They got Shaedon Sharpe, Scoot Henderson, Anthony Simons, he's more of a 1, in my opinion, than a 2. But they got Brogdon as well. Like, what do they do with a guy like Brogdon? And do they trade Anthony Simons halfway through the year? Do they – obviously, they're going to hold on to Scoot and Shaedon because I really like that duo, honestly, for them. I think Scoot is a better NBA player than people give him credit for. Did he start off really slow his rookie season? Sure. But it happens all the time, and Shaedon came in last year and just looked a lot better than he did his rookie year. I mean, he was already looking, pretty good his rookie year, but for him to come in this year and play how he did was pretty impressive. So the Blazers are another one of those teams that's kind of, they're building something here, but they're just not quite there yet. That's why they have the 2nd and the 14th pick. I like the pick. I like the Clingan pick for them. I really feel like they need defensive help as well. They're one of the worst defensive teams in the NBA. So that's why I'm going to have them go with a guy like Keyshawn George here. He is a guy that can play the 3. So they can get rid of Simons, in the middle of the year. Maybe, move on from a guy like DeAndre Ayton as well and kind of just do a soft little rebuild. You got guys that have supreme talent like a Shaedon Sharpe, like a Scoot Henderson. At this point in the draft, though, you kind of just have to go based off talent. Keyshawn George, they have him listed as shooting guard. I see him more as a 3. It kind of just depends. They could go point guard maybe. They could do a whole bunch of different things. But at this point in the draft, you kind of just want to bank on getting, good NBA talent and a guy that can come in, as a freshman, had a very good year there at Miami. So let's go with him here to round out our 2024 NBA lottery mock draft. And here we go. Here's the 1.0, and I will be coming out with a 2.0 here, soon too. So I had Sarr going number 1, and then I had Dillingham 2, Reed went 3, Nikola Topic goes 4, Risser falls to my Pistons at 5, had Charlotte taking an upside swing there at Holland, and then I had the Trailblazers looking to replace DeAndre Ayton here within the next couple of years with Donovan Clingan there at 7. Spurs take an upside swing as well with Matas Buzelis. Grizzlies kind of play it safe. Go get an NBA-ready guy and don't connect. Jazz bolster their defense and add a guy next to Colin Sexton and Stephon Castle. And the Bulls end up with Cody Williams. OKC takes a backup big man in Kyle Filipowski. Kings add another piece there in Jacoby Walter. And then the Blazers add a nice forward there to gel alongside Scoot and Anthony Simons and Shaden Sharp there and Keyshawn George. So that's the mock draft, you guys. I hope that you guys enjoyed. I really enjoyed doing this. Let me know if you guys want a 2.0. It's looking like I am going to be coming out with a 2.0, a 3.0. Maybe I'll add some trades in there as well because it's weird. This year, it is a different year. It's a different type of draft. You don't really know what to expect with the first overall pick. You don't really know what to expect, with the top 3, 4, 5 picks. So it's very interesting, but that's why I love it. It's just, you got to do a little bit more research this year. You got to get to know the prospects a little bit more. So, how can you not love it? So like, comment, share if you guys enjoyed. I really appreciate it. And I will catch you guys in the next one. Thank you for watching. Peace.